Afternoon punters, I'm back solo again this week, and we had a pretty big day there on Saturday at Sandown, and I got a lot of emails after the meeting, so I thank you for all of those. It was great to hear stories of people that snagged the quaddie and had some big multis and so forth. All that was really good stuff, but there were some other emails I thought gave us a chance to sort of talk through a little bit about the card and how that can relate to the way you approach your betting. So I thought that might be worthwhile to do today, given that I'm here solo. Now, one of those stories that's come up in a chat I was involved in today afternoon was that had a big result. Was our man Juppy. Juppy's been looking for a big result. He found one there on Saturday due to a lot of his own good work on the basketball, and he had a fairly lengthy multi that ended up with payroll. So good stuff, Juppy. Good to see you back on top of your game, mate. So from as we go through the card, I'll sort of just mention a couple of things, and at the end we can talk about them a bit more, and hopefully that'll help with some of the mental aspects of punting. So our betting day started in race 2 with Yulong Ji Sheng, who we backed 3 horses in the race. It was one of them. We had a nice strong bet on her, and the result was good. So the day was off to a good start. Then we didn't bet in the 3200 metre race. We go forward to race 4, and we backed 3 horses in the race, including Thronum, Ocean Embers and Illustrious Lad. And the expectation was that Jungle Edge would lead, but that Brad Woodwillow would take fairly close attendance on Burning Front. Now, between Brad and Noel Callow, they decided not to do that. They decided to let Jungle Edge get loose in front, and he's a very tough on pacer, and it's always dangerous to do that. They were more concerned about the horses behind them, and they paid a price. So unfortunately, we went down there in race 4, and we didn't collect on Thronum. So at that stage of the day, we're in front, we're okay, but we've missed an opportunity there, and we move on to the next race. So the next race, we have really strong bets on both the designated leader, Hell Over Street, and Moss and Dale, both of those horses were drawn wider than dollar for dollar. Now, there was every reason to believe that with Hell Over Street crossing dollar for dollar, that Anthony Darren would take that opportunity early in the race to put Jamie Carr in a pocket. Now, for some reason that escapes me, Anthony Darren let that opportunity pass and ended up on dollar for dollar's back. And I will say, outstanding riding by dollar for dollar, by Jamie Carr on dollar for dollar. She was given a very small window of opportunity, and she took it. She was straight off the fence and outside Hell of a Street, and she dominated the race from there. So, absolutely full marks to Jamie Carr. Anthony Darmanin, there was a severe lack of awareness in that ride, in the end, dollar for dollar and Hell of a Street fought the race out. The result went against us, and that's the way it goes. So at that stage of the day, we're about square, and a good correspondent, regular correspondent, friend of mine, Ray, he wrote in, after the meeting, but he said at that stage of the day he was feeling like he'd gone out to Sandown, and he was feeling like it wasn't going to be our day, that we're in for a really tough day punting. That just felt like the results were going to fall against us. So the reason I mentioned that email is that's the importance of having a plan, and that's why I produce a betting plan for the whole day, so that it helps keep you on track when the emotions and the ups and downs of what's occurring in each race start to affect you. You've got something to fall back on. So I think that's a good example of the emotions can take over. You can feel like things are running against you, and you're going to be in for a tough day, but it's important to have a plan to keep you on track, and to put a lot of time and effort into that plan to make sure it's well thought out, and only make changes to it if you've got very good reason to do so. So we move on to the next race, which was a 1,000 metre race. We backed Crystal Dreamer, and for just a small result, and we were actually looking to get a big result out of Lady Esprit. Now, didn't work out. Crystal Dreamer was too good. He got control of the race and was far too good. Lady Esprit ran an excellent race. She actually got out to tremendous odds, and a good friend of the show Rexy, who's always right on top of these things. He twigged during betting that I'd marked the horse Lady Spree $7, that she got very close to $5 to place, and that was a tremendous price. And he got an additional result out of the race by having a strong place bet. So they're the sort of things that really good punters keep an eye on. And there's very few punters I've met that are sharper than Rexy. He's got a great eye for when there's value in the market. So well played there. So we had a decent result on that race. It was back on track, slightly in front for the day, and it was just shaping up as a typical day. Race 7 we stayed out of. The three main players in the market fought out the race, or fought out the placings at least, with Taj Mahal winning easily. But it was a race I didn't have a good feel for, and I was happy to not be involved in that race. So again, we've got through 7 races. We're marginally in front. It's just feeling like any other day, really. And we go to race 8, and I put most of my faith in this race in the horses that were coming through the Carbon Club. So we'd had reasonably strong bets on Snitzer Peg and Beau Guest. But I also wanted to include Villamont. Villamont was a horse that produced an excellent run on debut at Sandown, went to Benalla and rated through the roof, running very quick sectionals, then come back to Caulfield where he was overbet. But he did go around in what was a pretty solid race, a very short price favourite. Now he did present into that race on Saturday with a reasonable gap between runs, which sort of was a plus and a minus because he was coming out of a fairly brutal race. But when you related his SP to Black Sail, for instance, he probably should have been, the gap between them should have been bigger. He should have started far shorter than Black Sail. Now, so we also backed him, so that he was our third bet in the race. Now, in the wash-up, he's come from last. It's hard to take much away from him, but on a different day, when things are not running well for you, Peaceful State probably would have won the race. Peaceful State's a lightly raced horse that was having his first genuine test at City Grade, and he certainly measured up. He had little luck in the run, really, worked hard throughout, and his run had enormous merit. So, good effort by Villamont. He's a promising horse, but Peaceful State is equally. And, I was delighted to get a result out of that race because, they run the race several more times, and I think Peaceful State and Villamont would win it an equal share. So that was good. So we move on to race 9, and race 9 was the strongest bet of the day for me. I was very keen on Payroll. I thought what she'd done at Flemington with no base at all was a credit to her stable. She was 1,400 metres to 2,000 metres in that race won by Savapinski, and her run was outstanding. She backed up off that, coming back slightly in distance with a real fitness base underneath her. And I thought there were a lot of different ways she could have run that race. Now, as it turns out, it's a very slowly run race, and she sat in a good up and off position. So, excellent Damien Oliver ride. But if they had have gone harder and the pace had have been stronger, I think there was several ways she could have won that race. We did save on Kid Me Never. He was a hard horse to assess. He's obviously a talented horse, and his run was very good. So in the end, they drew well clear of the field, and I think one of those two would have won the race more often than not. But you can't escape the fact that in the end, it was a photo finish, and we got the photo. Now, on a different day, we may not have got that photo, but we did, so that, we had a very strong bet on Payroll, and that put us in a tremendous position going into the last race. And the last race to me was a race where I was not enamoured with the favoured runners, Petition and Invincibella. I thought Invincibella, there was some signs that she was coming to the end of a prep, although I did have something on her. And I thought Petition was far too short in the early markets, coming off what was, her run, she should have won the race at Caulfield, but the fact is that was a hollow race. It was a race that was quinelled by the on-pace runners. They went very slowly. It was just a very strange race, and she was a gap between runs going up in distance. There was to me there wasn't a lot to like about Petition as a dominant favourite. So I went searching for something different in that race. Spent quite a bit of time on it, and I ended up making a case for a long time ago, who was right down the bottom there. She was obviously a mare with a lot of talent that was struggling to put it all together on the racetrack. And this was an opportunity for her. It appeared that there was a chance it was a race that they targeted, given that she was first up and she'd trialled, 6 or 8 weeks ago in Sydney. And so they put a bit of work into her and then brought her down here and gave her a jump out at Flemington as well. So, I think she was a nice bet in the race. Was I confident she'd win? Certainly not. I marked her $8, and I thought, in the early market she was $18 and $4.40 or $4.70 the place or something, and I thought that was a good gamble. So that's the way we approached it. Now in the end, she missed the start a bit, got in an awkward spot, and then luck appeared for her late. She got through and was able to get Miss Gardenia down late. Now, again, on a different day, that might not have fallen into place, and she might have run second or third, and you collect the place bet, and you look back at it and go, well, geez, that was a good set, and we didn't really get a full result out of it. But what actually happened was a lot of the results, particularly late in the day, and the important ones with particularly payroll and a long time ago, they fell into place for us, and we finished the day just shy of 70 units to the good. So the reason I'm mentioning these things all the way through is that there were other sets over the carnival that I think probably had equal merit to Saturday's, but we finished with a result of maybe plus 10 units or plus 20 or plus 25 or even minus 5, you know what I mean? Like, we're around the mark all the time. So much of the final result depends on how the photo finishes fall, and little bits of luck in running fall for you on the day, and that sort of tends to determine your final position on any given day. But the important thing to think of is that the more times you put yourself in those positions where you back enough of the right horses at the right prices, it's only a matter of time till the rub of the green finds you. And it found us there on Saturday, and it was a terrific result. And I was glad to hear all those stories of people that took advantage. So I did have one other email about race 10, or it was about some of the stuff in general that I do. It was from Rob, who's a regular correspondent. He's just asking me, he said in his own betting, he's gone back and analysed it, and he sort of almost regrets every each way or place bet he's had over the past 2 decades. And he said, look, is it, there's a tendency that for punters to want to take that insurance of it running a place and getting a result out of it that way. And I think Rob's point is well made. I think anytime you have an each way bet just for that insurance value factor, I think you are making a mistake. That those bets are a losing proposition, in my opinion. So people that get my stuff, all the place bets I have, I treat them as a completely separate entity to the win bets. So I'd identified a long time ago as a chance in that race. I marked her $8. I wanted to back her, take the $18 in the early play. Right. So 2 units to me to get a return of 35 or 36, or if you took $16, 32 units, a return of over 30 units on that horse from a win point of view was, that was a positive outcome bet, and it was a bet I was happy to make. But that I wouldn't have really wanted to have more than 2 units on it. Now, sometimes with the horses that you find that are slightly out of the market like that, I think there is often really good value in the place bets also. So, I also recommended a 2.5 unit place bet on her, but it had no relationship to the win bet. It was a separate bet, and I think they were both sensible bets, and that's the nature of the place betting that I do. And I think often when you find those good overlays, it's worth looking at the place price as well. Now, in her case, I thought she was going to be on pace, and that sort of improves the value of that overlay a little bit, but in the end she wasn't, and we got away with it, so all good. Now we're nearly up to 15 minutes there, punters, so I'll just bring it to an end. The great part about Sandown there, and so there's the track played brilliantly, and there's 3 more meetings at Sandown in the coming week and a half or so, the next 2 Wednesdays and the Saturday after Ballarat. So I think there's a really good opportunities for us there to take advantage at Sandown. I'll be going down to Ballarat to walk the track. I think there's a really good advantage in walking the track at Ballarat, so I look forward to that, and look forward to hopefully having another successful punting week and day at Ballarat this coming Saturday. Cheers, punters.